Hi, my name is Koku with blackfilm.com, and I'm here with Courtney Nichole, Chicago native.
Woo!
And she's star of BET's Assisted Living. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to talk to you for a lot of reasons.
Yes, Koku, I'm excited to talk to you. Black film, let's go.
Look, I had to start off this way. First of all, I was born at Cook County Hospital.
Shut your mouth.
I was.
Woodlawn, okay.
So whenever I interview somebody that's from Chicago, because I know you're from Chicago, I have to ask if you've heard of this little town I was raised in. And don't make fun of me, though. Okay. Have you ever heard of Country Club Hills, Illinois?
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's where I'm from. Little town called Country Club. So they always want me to shout it out to Chicagoans, like, yo, we met her.
Yeah, come on, Country Club Hills. Look, we have all the little towns like Dalton.
You know, see it?
We still claim, like the South suburbs, right? Like
the South. Thank you. See, I've told you Country Club Hills. No, we.
Yes.
So no, and it's really cool. I saw that you went to Kenwood.
I did.
So you guys were the cool kids.
That's what they say, girl. I know. They used to say we were the cool kids, and then the boys used to say all the pretty girls go to Kenwood.
All the pretty girls went to Kenwood. All the popular guys. It was Kenwood and Whitney Young. If you didn't go to one of those two,
yeah. Kenwood, Whitney Young.
Yep.
And for a while, we were like part of the top three. Like I know Lane Tech was one.
Yep.
Morgan Park was another.
That's
but
right.
Yeah.
No, that's true.
Girl.
So I know we're definitely here to talk about assisted living. And so the exciting thing about your character is your character is from Chicago.
Yes.
Moved to Atlanta. Talk to me about Leah. Who are you? Who do you play and why?
Leah is Courtney and Courtney is Leah at this point. Yeah, so because it's funny because I moved from Chicago. I went to an HBCU, Alabama A&M in Huntsville. I lived there for 13 years and I moved to Atlanta. Then I moved to Atlanta and lived there for 13 years is what I meant. But so I personally have lived from Chicago to Atlanta, and then here's Leah. But Leah is a supportive wife. She's been married to Jeremy. Her and Jeremy have been married for almost 20 years or somewhere around that number, teenage kids. So I feel like our family is very relatable and, just family.
Yeah. But you're also not the only cast member from Chicago, right?
I'm not. So Alex Henderson, he plays Philip, the guy who plays my son on the show. He's from Chicago as well. And he would kill me. But I think he goes to Whitney Young. Because I'm like, I better get this right, I think. But and that's so funny because so Alex and I we booked the show on the same day. Wow. Secret, right? So we were there and they had us in the suites on Actors Row in the Dream Building on Tyler Perry Studios lot, which is amazing. That's a lot to break down in itself. But so they pull us out and they take us up at the same time. So we hop in the elevator. So just actors, talent, artists, you immediately need to get that connection. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, so in my mind, I'm like, are they about to put us in the room together? Is this a chemistry read? You know what I'm saying? So we hit it first, like on the elevator. It was like, I'm from Chicago. I went to Kenwood. I went to Whitney Young. And then it was the banter. I was like, well, and he cut me off. And I was like, oh, there it is. Already. So it was that. So we were able to take that, I'm sure, into our auditions. They didn't make us go in together, but we found out the same day. So that day, I told Alex and his mom, Tracy, who's amazing. I was like, I said, I'm claiming 5 seasons, y'all.
Aww.
Girl, let me tell you. So then later, Tamela Mann, we're all in the room talking to each other one day. She said, well, I heard you claim 5 seasons. I'm claiming 10. I said, well, come on, somebody.
That's amazing. What's it like working with Tamela Mann?
She's amazing. Oh, such a sweetheart. She is as sweet as people probably think she is. That I thought she was before I met her, but she's super sweet and amazing. Her and David, they've been in the Tyler Perry family for years, and just for them to be welcoming to us, always dropping nuggets and tools or, making us feel welcome or comfortable, has been amazing. Just being around them,
Yeah.
and their kids, you know. I mean, I watched the Man reality show when they had that. So I knew that one of their daughters, like Tia, was their assistant and things. So they're always around. But the family is just a beautiful family. Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you about that because with your experience, I mean, you have this really unique experience of being able to work directly with Tyler Perry in some capacity. I mean, that is something where a lot of us have watched him grow and watched what he has done for the community, watched what he's done for himself, watched how he's inspired a lot of people. You're seeing it. This is someone that you know. How invaluable is that experience working with someone like Tyler Perry?
Invaluable. A friend of mine used to say this. She says, "Teach me. I'm a sponge. I absorb." Right. And so what else to do while you're on that lot and around that greatness, but absorb. And one of the things that I say about him is that he leads with love, you know, like I always feel warm and welcome whether he's around. And then I think that just trickles down to everybody else that's a part of that studio. But just watching the things that he's done, like from the time that I've booked this. Yeah. We've been in a pandemic. We've seen him, the world has seen him pay for groceries for the elderly in Atlanta, give out gift cards to the, Atlanta Police Department so that they can give them to the community to work on that police and Black, indigenous, people of color, community. And even while we were there filming this last time in the bubble, he was able to open it up to have vaccines. They did vaccines on the lot. And so, you have to think about all the people that were there working, cast members, like everybody. And so to be able to give that option to people was amazing. So his give to the community and his service just further sets me up and confirms that, you have to give it to receive it. Right. And that the more you give, I feel like the more you receive. Yeah. And it's about service. Life is about service to me. And he is always serving his community and us there. So I just appreciate him and his guidance and glad he listened to his calling.
I know that's right. And I mean, especially even with you, I see that your education, your background was in education. Is that what you went to school for? Yeah. So your calling also is in making sure that, you're of service and that you want to, help the community. So talk more about, you've been acting, but you also really care about children.
Absolutely. I taught elementary and middle school English language arts for 13 years. So that was like, I tell people, so going back to acting was me living out my dream. You know what I'm saying? I had an 8th grade teacher who sold into me. And so when I started college and started thinking about a major, I don't think at that time I believed in myself enough to go full throttle into acting, right? So I hate to say it, but I basically feel like I succumbed to what society wants us to succumb to. And it's like, well, what else can I do? And with that, I was like, well, I'll do something that I love, a good thing that God blessed me with a couple of gifts, so I was like, I'll definitely teach and be a positive influence, hopefully to children and the youth, and which I know in turn would help society and the future of the world, right? Which is my thoughts. But I also think that making sure that those babies knew that they could live their dream, right? And that they needed to go after it, and they were doing themselves a disservice if they didn't, just kind of started to boil something in me to say, well, Courtney, if you were 80, is there anything else that you would say you wish you had done or gone after that you did not do? And for me, that was acting. So there was a period of time where I was teaching and acting all at the same time, girl. I was like trying to go with the independent projects, like good independent projects, building up my resume, going back to class, because it is about professional development. People think acting is easy, and they're like, oh, like even with this role, they're like, oh, girl, you just being yourself. Oh, honey, but when you get on set, the technique kicks in because you don't just do it one time, You have to practice. You got lights and cameras around. You got people tugging on you, telling you stuff, remembering lines, and And so that was that. But I very much love education and I'm very passionate about it. I think that, since you brought it up, one of my things now is just trying to make sure that people talk about education reform. We're having a lot of talk about police accountability and things like that. But I think it's very important to think about our education system that hasn't been revamped in I don't know how long, probably since it originated. And does that cater to our communities? You know what I'm saying? So we need to talk about what's being taught in textbooks. We need to talk about, the language, making sure that our inner city schools are not suffering. I've always taught in an inner city school. So, these things are important to me also. So I love the fact that I feel like I've been blessed with these gifts, right? And I hope that I get to also use this platform to continue my love for education. I'll be able to speak from it, from a different angle in support of the teachers and the students. A lot of times we always hear it from the public school point of view and not what the teachers need and what the students need.
It's like data. It's not, not on the ground. And one of the things that I love about you too, and you did not do this with any kind of like deliberate intention. I just want to go back to the moment when, you went viral inadvertently. I know. So I have to bring this up though, because
no, it's fine.
Okay. One of the most important things about you going viral is that you were very intentional in saying, listen, we can't be driving negative narratives. That is not what we're here for. If you want to help. Don't do that. So if you want to talk about it, I would love if you did. But I just thought that was so important.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said it happened inadvertently because, I literally, like if you're watching it, I was just at a protest, right? The show hadn't even come out yet, so it went viral before anybody knew anything about, and we have to speak up. We ask kids, so you brought up education. As a teacher, I would ask my students to speak up for other students, right? Don't allow bullying around you. And if we're asking 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds to have the confidence and the strength to be able to speak up for somebody else, then why do we get to lose that as an adult? You know what I'm saying? Like you have to do what we're asking babies to do, but as adults, we're like, no, I got a job, or no, somebody's going to say this, that, and the other, but no, you have to speak up. And in that moment, that just was not what it was about for me. We needed bodies on the ground, voices in the air to speak up about what had just happened to Mr. Floyd. And having them, graffiti a building was not that for me.
It's not a message that had nothing to do with anything. And I saw your passion. You're just like, again, it was just the way you said it. Like, if you want to help, we welcome help, but
absolutely,
the graffiti in the building is not telling anybody anything. And they're not going to look at you and say that you did it.
Absolutely. And you know what else? I wanted the people that were standing around, because when I walked up, I don't know if in the video, I have to go back and look myself. I don't know if you can see all the people that were standing around when we walked up on that moment. And they weren't saying anything. So yes, I was speaking to my camera, right? But I also was trying to speak to the people that were around. Like, you're here to help. Then help. Part of that is helping. And if that means kicking somebody bad out of your circle, I'm talking about your small circle. You know what I'm saying? You have a responsibility to yourself and your community, your mental health, right? And to protect that. And you can protect your community by speaking up. You see, they left.
They really did. It's like, okay. Yeah. No, you're right. It's about setting good examples. I really, really appreciate that. And I appreciate that, especially coming from somebody from Chicago, because there's always this super negative narrative. The way people talk about Chicago, you think you couldn't walk down the street, So, it's really terrible.
Up there, right. Absolutely.
It's really terrible. Yeah. So when I hear somebody from Chicago that's that passionate and that knows that, listen, I have a voice, and what you're not going to do is this.
That's that Chicago in me, though. People have asked me in interviews before, like, what do they think it was, right? And I'm like, well, yes, I'm a teacher, right? And I am a mom. So I do have those things about me, but I also think it's my Chicago attitude. Like,
I think so.
what you're not gonna do is this in my presence, right? Like that's just it is what it is. But you know, like speaking of Chicago, I grew up in the hundreds. So I grew up like on 115th and like King Drive, around about that area, right? And I was supposed to go to Finger High School. Now, Finger been bad, Finger been off the hook for decades. And my mom's, that's how I got to Kenwood, because my mom was like, no, now what we're not doing is this, right? So she took my test scores and sent everything to Kenwood to try to see if I could be in a better community situation.
She advocated for you.
Like a lot of parents do, or, you know, should do, or sometimes don't know that we can, right? So I'm telling you now, parents, you can speak up. They'll listen to you before they listen to anybody else. But you know, I mean, so I think it was definitely my Chicago. I've, you know, coming out at me like, no, we're not doing that. And I try to bring that to Leah as well. You know what I'm saying?
I was going to ask you, do they ever like creatively? Because you're like, well, a Chicago girl wouldn't do it like this. So you
know, the thing about Mr. Perry is that he allows us to create, right? And I love that. Like, and if it's gold, he's like, go for it, right? We get the, you know, he'll allow us to do it. And then if he wants us to pull it back, you know, just like any director, he will. But there were moments where I think like in season 1, like I huffed up at my kids, like I did that little thing. I was just trying to add a little toughness. Or he's definitely open to the creativeness. Like I know when we were doing our promo shoots, you know, like the guy who plays my husband, Naeem, I'm like, oh, we should do a little stepping, like Chicago stepping.
Nice, yep.
Right, we practiced real quick on the side, right? And then when the cameras were rolling, we did that. And I think, you know, they probably used some of that footage at some point, but it's like, but he did allow us to do that. So he will allow us to add that little Chicago flair in there, right? Yeah.
That's great. So now I got to ask you some Chicago, because I left Chicago pretty young. So I'm not as intimately familiar with a lot of things as you would be. So you got
17 too.
Oh, you too, me too. Okay, so then we're the same. We're the same. Yeah. I was going to ask you some questions that I'm not really sure that I'm qualified to answer. So you're going to have to help me out. So when we talk about, first of all, deep dish versus thin crust, I'm of the opinion that most Chicagoans eat thin crust more.
I believe they do, right? But I think like if you think of if somebody's going to Chicago and they ask me what they should have, right, then I'm like, go to Giordano's and get you a deep dish pizza, right?
And I was gonna say Giordano's.
But I've definitely been to Beggars, you know what I'm saying? I definitely got me, you know what I'm saying? And we definitely eat that. But I think that Chicagoans may like to say get deep dish because when you think of New York and pizza and a pie, you know what I'm saying? It's more of a thin crust. It's like that classic thing.
I've lived in New York many, many years, and I do not like, and I'm going to get probably, you know, I don't know what's going to happen to me next.
Girl,
but
I see the dad is coming.
A Brooklyn slice to me is not where it's at. I do not need no floppy, greasy slice. You know, I don't care. I've never really been into it. Never.
They gonna get you.
They are going to get me. They are going to get me. Yes. Yeah. And how about this one?
Just like that's like the deep dish, girl. You can't have that deep dish all the time. All that cheese. All that.
You'll never get up out of bed if you eat deep dish.
It's like going to the original House of Pancakes, right? They have a Dutch baby, right? Now on a regular, you can't eat no Dutch baby every weekend or every day or whatever it is. But if you go out, if you take the family out, right? Yeah. It's one of those things that it's a, you know, that specialty thing.
Now, does ketchup belong on a hot dog?
Yeah.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
Okay. I've been hearing that it doesn't. Now, I never liked hot dogs, but that's, you know, Chicago and hot dogs. I get scared talking about it.
I don't necessarily do the Chicago style dogs, right?
Both of us about to be in trouble.
Yeah, I know both of us about to be in trouble. I can't stand all them onions and all of that. I'm like, onions on some things are cool, but I just want to eat my hot dog. I just eat my hot dog with ketchup and mustard, maybe some relish, girl. So I might get in trouble too.
I know, right? And then my last Chicago question, I'm gonna leave you alone.
Okay.
Are we calling it the Willis Tower, or is it always gonna be the Sears Tower?
You gonna make? I got my coffee right here. You gonna make me? I sip tea on that one.
Let me just make sure. Okay. So, you know,
that is Sears Tower.
I'm like, what?
Right. You see, I was kind of looking at you like,
what she
you girl, you mean when they renamed the building? Okay.
So, you know, I'm not gonna leave you alone on that one. So, Courtney Nichole, of course, you have a lot of different products that you're working on. There's a lot of depth to you. It's really cool to actually talk to you. What do you have going on next?
You know what? I think right now I'm celebrating assisted living. I do, of course, I've had some meetings and some conversations and some great meetings in the room that I can't necessarily speak on today. But girl, you can have me back and we can talk about it then, right?
Most definitely.
They like those deadlines to be released before I get
right.
To
they're
talk.
like,
but
no, that's great.
We have some things in the work, and I'm also working on my philanthropy. So, you know, I would love to, you know, be able to share and support that, and for people to watch out for that. So we have some things cooking. So
great, and I'm making sure that they're going to put your social media here, all fancy and stuff, so
you.
they'll know to follow you and make sure that they know exactly.
Courtney, REEL.
Yes, that's right. Thank you so much, Courtney Nichole, for speaking with me. It has absolutely been a pleasure.
I would love for people to make sure they tune in on Tuesday nights. We have a new night. Our show comes on at 9:30, 8:30 Central. So it's been a blessing. They say we were the #1 show for African Americans in my age group. I think it was from 18 to 49. So I'm thankful for that. And I appreciate that and hope everybody receives the love and the laughter that we made this with. And thank you so much, Koku, for having me on here today.
Thank you for speaking with me. It was really been an honor. I really appreciate it. Come on, shots. Country Club Hills too, you know.
Yes. Come on, Country Club Hills too. Let me holler at my peoples out there.
Do you know how many folks are gonna say? I'll be like, "That's right." I'm about to get all my little Facebook from all my friends and family from Country Club Hills.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, "Girl, yes."
You officially made it happen for me just now. You made me the cool kid today.
Girl, you're a cool kid.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I really enjoyed this interview. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.